Day one of this year's trip begins, and we're headed west to Tallahassee, Florida to kick off the thrifting adventures. It's a 2.5-hour drive, and I'm up stupid early, but I'm excited. Now, as Mario likes to say, let's get going. To hopefully keep things interesting, I'm going to implement a scorecard of sorts for each location. On last year's trip, I encountered a lot of places without air conditioning, so I'll note if the store has AC or not. It's important because it's already 100 degrees out here. Speaking of cool, is there cool stuff here to look at? That one will be entirely subjective, but I figure if you're watching this, you're most likely interested in the same kinds of things that I am. And finally, did I make any purchases? That not only confirms the cool stuff, but also that there's the potential to find something really great that's worth taking home. So as you probably know by now, game hunting at Goodwills is usually a waste of time because most regions send all that stuff to their local hubs to be auctioned off on their online websites. It's not the case in all regions, and Tallahassee is a bit of an exception, but we will get to that in a minute. Just know that while I'm here in Tallahassee, I'm not going to find any video games at their Goodwills. Hopefully they have some other neat stuff though, because otherwise this trip is going to start on a really sour note. Goodwill number 1 is a nice enough store. They've got a large media section with an assortment of puzzles and board games. It's all newish stuff though, nothing I'm interested in. The records are all in their own display case, and if you're looking for Jim Neighbors stuff, this is the place to go, it seems. Lots of VHS tapes here to dig through. I probably would have picked some of these up if the boxes had been in better shape, or maybe if they'd been 50 cents or less. Again, shelf collecting, I gotta stop that. Then there was a massive wall of DVDs, which I was only able to scan briefly. My eyes did immediately spy this Reb Brown Shannon Tweed movie, but every transfer of this I've ever seen looks like garbage, and I doubt this one is any better. Plus it's $3, that's a little too high for taking a chance on a Goodwill disc like this one. Oh well, there is stuff here, just nothing for me today. Down the road from there, we find the Living Harvest thrift store, a small but decent place with some stuff. For example, if you need any Sims 2 discs, this is your destination. Modern puzzles and board games, sure, lots of those. Tons of books, including a really interesting sci-fi and pulp novel section, and I ended up grabbing these. The Star Trek book is an interesting behind-the-scenes tale of the making of that episode, and these two others are part of a long-running franchise where every third word of the text is just total nonsense. Seriously, when I flipped through one of these just to get a sense of what it was, I was amazed at the sheer amount of proper noun word salad happening. It's like these were Bungie games. Goodwill number 2 is a rather inconspicuous looking store, also with a large media section and a huge wall of VHS tapes to pour through. There's gotta be something weird in here. Hell, there's an entire shelf devoted exclusively to Titanic content. I considered getting this guitar training tape, but it seems a little too corporate-y and probably wouldn't be much fun. They do have some DVDs here, but they seem to be outnumbered by VHS tapes 3-1. And here's their extensive electronics section. There's no CDI here. Anyway, I did end up grabbing a few of those VHS tapes. 9 in total, actually. This low-budget kids animated thing, how to work out in your pool, a Neil Diamond concert, just for me, I won't be posting that. A train video for all you train weirdos out there. A video on how to learn the Lindy Hop, a dance from the 14th century. This instructional video on how to cut hair. This home recording that just says Anne on it, but then you open it up and there's a sticker that says actual reception footage. So let's see what Anne was getting up to. And then finally, these 2 unlabeled blanks. I always pick these up when I see them cheap in thrift stores. You never know what might be on them. Anyway, look for all this stuff to show up over on my VHS Archives channel. Now, directly across from this Goodwill is another Goodwill, and it's one of the reasons I came to Tallahassee for the first part of this trip. It's the Goodwill Computer Store, which is where all the video games and electronics in the region end up. Let's check it out. Right up front, you're greeted by prepackaged system bundles that are marked as tested, so that's an extra bonus. Not a lot to choose from here today, but if you're just looking for a quick purchase with everything you need to get started, this seems like it's the place, and that black Wii for $50 was very tempting. They've got rows and rows of old desktops priced super cheap at around $10 each. You could probably build an inexpensive, powerful old Windows machine with one of these for some excellent retro PC gaming. Or just slap Linux in there, I don't know, people slap Linux in things. The possibilities are endless for you computer types. Me, I wouldn't know where to start, but if I ever do figure it out, I'd consider coming back here. The small media section here has a couple of DVD-based games I considered picking up for half a second, but I'm sure these are well covered on other channels by now and are probably copyright strike nightmares. But if you're just looking for stuff, random gaming things, etc., this is the place. Video game cables, power cords, bricks, there's a ton of those here, all sorted and labeled. It's very handy, and if I lived in this region, I'd be here all the time, getting a new cable for some old console that I just picked up. The game selection here, though, is not as diverse as you might be expecting, but it still blows away every other Goodwill in the country, I would imagine. The Xbox section in particular is very picked through, but I did find one of the common games I needed. I also grabbed this QuickShot NES joystick for $10, since this was one I had when I was a kid, and I loved it to death. It's not great for all NES games, but some of them really shine with this controller. I'll probably do a video about it later. Definitely check out the Goodwill Computer Store when you're in the area. Elsewhere in town, there's Goodwill number 4, although I'm a bit suspicious because that sign doesn't look on brand. Turns out this is a Goodwill bookstore, which is a curated collection of donated books, but also there are puzzles, board games, VHS tapes, and a whole lot of DVDs. I didn't pick anything up here, but I'd make a point to come back from time to time to see what else they've gotten in. This place contained a large number of cats roaming the store, and so I really couldn't stay inside very long. Allergies. Geek's Closet will have what I need based on that sign, and yep, Xbox 360 games, here we go. I only managed to find one of the games on my list that I needed here, but one is better than none. I was tempted by this copy of Godzilla for the PS2 in the glass case up front, but for $60, nah, I think I'll hold off for now. I don't really need it. Not for $60. Purchases at the Fix thrift shop benefit spaying and neutering local pets, which is a good cause. It's a small store, but they've got a nice little selection of media and electronics inside. I didn't find anything I needed today, but I would come back. Goodwill number 5 is your standard Goodwill with a little bit of everything, including this jewel case copy of Bloodsport 4 that I considered for half a second, but the disc was absolutely trashed. Also be thankful that I've muted the audio of the loudest screaming child ever recorded. There was also this set of the largest speakers I've ever seen in a retail store, $80 marked down from $100. I briefly considered installing them in the back of my tiny car, but nah, I think the weight would probably blow my tires. Behind those was this Roland VS1680 16-track audio mixer, which was cool to see out in the wild. $120 is kind of on the low end for what these seem to be going for elsewhere. I don't need it, but I sure wouldn't mind messing around with it, but no, I'm gonna pass. This is games for less, and the less said about this place, the better. Moving on.
It's peanut butter jelly time! Peanut butter jelly time! Peanut butter jelly time! Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Now there you go!
I pulled into this place but was getting unsettling vibes from the empty parking lot and abandoned storefronts, so I did not get out of my car here. Seriously, I'm sure this place is fine. Maybe I was just sort of way behind schedule at this point. Moving on to the Lighthouse Thrift Store. I didn't have high hopes for this place at first, but immediately spotted a Domino Rally box amongst the puzzles. Unfortunately, this seems to be a newer thing with the Domino Rally branding on it instead of the classic release, so I passed. But then on another shelf, I see the classic Milton Bradley logo, and that gets my attention. This is Scotland Yard, a 1985 release that also has a number of video game adaptations, including versions for the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS, Windows PCs, and yes, there's even a version for the Philips CDI. I'm gonna take that as an omen. But yeah, for $5, I'll take a chance on this. The box is in good shape, why not? Goodwill number 6, and these signs are getting more and more suspect. Only thing of note in here was that the electronics section is all baskets and shit. Take that electronics sign down. Speaking of signs, here's a couple for the Good Samaritan thrift store or the Super Thrift store. Take your pick. Let's see what they've got in here. Nintendo Labo, holy hell, that was quick. 65 bucks, good lord. I guess they're still 90 or so new, but still, wow, is that a deal? $65? I don't know, I passed. Electronics. Whoa! That is the raddest helmet I've ever seen in a religious thrift shop. That's some Mad Max shit right there. I'm gonna go ask the Reverend up front for assistance. That's it for shopping in Tallahassee for the day, and so I'm driving up into Alabama to find tonight's hotel. I had some good footage of the crazy stuff along the highway, but apparently that file got corrupted, as my phone was blowing up at the time. Some, news was happening right around then. Anyway, I soon arrive in Dothan, Alabama for the night, but one store here is still open, so I'll go ahead and check it out to make tomorrow's schedule a little easier. It's the first, second, and Charles of the trip. I'm really hoping for some good finds here. And wow, their Xbox 360 section might be the smallest I have ever seen. There's maybe a dozen games here, if that. Man, that's disappointing. Their PlayStation 2 section sure is interesting though. Look at all these Japanese imports. I've never seen this many together in one place in my life, and this is Dothan, Alabama? Weird. I wish I'd investigated these further, but it was late and I was getting pretty tired. I did have some luck finding martial arts and some other assorted Asian action flicks here though. Also, here's a different version of The Firing Line on DVD. I guess that's gonna be the movie of the trip. And who the heck is this supposed to be though? That is mostly not Shannon Tweed. Over in the glass case they had a couple of Sega systems I'd be interested in owning if they were cheaper. The Saturn was 150 bucks and below it was a Master System for 200. That's too rich for my blood right now. My not rich blood and I are very tired by this point. That was 10 plus hours of thrifting right there. And so it's off to the hotel where there's a print of a businessman staring at my TV. That's a little unnerving as I try to relax. Off to sleep now though, more thrifting adventures tomorrow, and I will post those soon. Although in the next episode we will be staying back in Tallahassee just a little longer, as I take you through the 2 arcades that I went to there. So until then, thanks for watching everyone. Let me know what you think about all these things in the comments. Did I pass up anything you would have grabbed? And be sure to subscribe so that you know when the next episode in this series gets uploaded. Thanks again, I will see you next time for some awesome arcade stuff.
Use the right lane to keep left onto Crawfordville Road.
The fuck? That does not make sense.